Driving Markets. Okay, over to Jimmy in London. Says that I get it wrong all the time. He's probably right. Maybe I get it wrong 99% of the time, maybe only 98% of the time. However, Tesla is going to continue falling. This is specifically for Jimmy. Okay, so Tesla, I've been calling it down already when it was 280. If you check out the YouTubes and Instagram, it's gone down to 240. It's probably going to continue falling all the way down to around about the 220. I've got it down as 180 to 200 because I'm a big bear on Tesla at these levels. I'm not a big bear on Tesla, generally speaking. I'm talking short to near term. I think Tesla is a fantastic share long term. I love Elon Musk. So let's get it in perspective. When I'm calling out a particular asset class, it's obviously based on the fundamentals at that time. And at the moment, the Nasdaq and the high-tech sector is well overvalued. It's a bubble, not a super bubble. It's a bubble. If it continues going up the way it's going up, then it will become a super bubble, and that pop will be significant. We are talking about similarities between the dot-com crisis of 2000 and also the 2008 banking crisis, which we'll go on to in a second. But focusing a little bit on the high-tech sector, because there's been a lot of frenzy, a lot of FOMO, and a lot of mania regarding high-tech. What you're talking about is Nvidia is overvalued, Tesla overvalued. You've got Meta, which is massively overvalued, and they're just losing billions on developing and designing the metaverse, which I think is going to have absolutely no base whatsoever, but that's something else. Apple itself is overvalued, in my opinion, but that will flow down with the rest of the tech sector. Then you've got shares like Carvana. Carvana is just a second-hand car online car salesman, and that is, in my opinion, bankrupt and going nowhere. So again, my opinion is that those shares are a sell. So the tech sector itself is super overvalued, super overbought. In fact, Tesla's has been downgraded by Goldman Sachs. Maybe the following Driving Markets, because I've been downgrading Tesla already well before the banks downgraded. It's the fourth bank that's downgraded Tesla, and I've been downgrading Tesla well before Wall Street. So maybe they're watching Driving Markets and getting an inkling on that as to where the tech sector is going and where obviously these shares are going. Moving on to the rest of the market, gold was slightly up, and you got oil also a bit more stable, especially after the short potential inquisition or coup d'etat in Russia with the Wagner Force. Again, I still don't really understand what the Wagner Force is. I've read all different types of articles on it. Sounds like a group of 25,000 mercenaries that's now going to be disbanded, something along those lines. So I'm not really an expert on it. I'm not going to comment, but obviously that geopolitical issue seems to be calm, and we've gone back to war as normal between Russia and Ukraine, and the world doesn't really seem bothered about it. They're just bombing each other out of existence, and thousands of people are being displaced and being killed during this whole war. So that seems to be taking a back burner. Very surprising to the whole let's cause world peace by the Biden administration. In terms of dollar slightly weaker yesterday. The pound is beginning to creep up again. Remember, I have said to you that sterling looks like it's going to go to the 129, 130. That's my call on sterling. When I say sterling, I'm talking about cable, 129, 130. And as far as the euro or GBP euro is concerned, I can see it going to 119 in the near future. That's on the FX markets. I do see sterling strength, especially with a rise in interest rates likely to happen more and more in the UK as they try to grapple with inflation, headline inflation, and core inflation. Focusing on core inflation is rampant. You've had all the banks increase rates recently. You've had the Canadians increased rates, Swiss have increased rates for the 11th time, Norwegians, UK, you've got Eurozone, the US took a pause in June, you've got New Zealand, Australia, they've all raised rates. Norway raised rates by 50 basis points, and also the UK raised rates by 50 basis points. I'm not sure if 50 basis points is going to be the next rate rise, but it looks like 25 basis points is going to be the trend going forward. Canada's already indicated that they're not going to raise rates more than another 25 basis points to 5%. I think that is really low at the moment. Or let's reflect that. Sorry, let's rephrase that. Not really low. I think it's another 50 basis points likely to happen in Canada. However, central banks are on track to effectively destroy global economies with their aggressive rate rises, and they haven't solved anything regarding core inflation. That is a major problem. Bitcoin seems solid at 30,000, and we can expect Bitcoin to continue rising above towards the 35,000 if it can break 31,000 and stay above it. So please make note, if it can stay above 31,000 and above it, then we're looking at the next level of 35 upwards. Once it breaks 35, then obviously it's going to 40, 45 at those levels. At this particular level, it is bouncing around. Dollar yen, going back to FX, which I forgot to mention, is rising. Remember, I called it at 131, 132. It's now 143 and likely to continue rising all the way through to 150. Those of you who are FX traders. Bonds are slightly off. The other one I want to mention is regional banks in the States. Get ready for another banking crisis in the US amongst the regional banks. They're far too high, very unstable. Client accounts are being closed left, right, and center, and that is the next crisis bubbling along. So keep an eye on the regional banks in the US. That's more or less it. This is Mayor Valensky with Driving Markets. Remember, I've got a book on Amazon and also writing another book. You can share, subscribe, comment, and give me some feedback. Thank you very much. Have a good day.